Soul Free with Harlan Freeman, your home for sneakers and culture, starts in 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Once again, welcome to Soul Free here on the Soul Free Radio Network. I'm Harlan. You can check me out on Instagram at the official Harlan, soulfreeradio.com. And boy, do we have a show for you today. First off, we'd like to thank our sponsors. We'd like to thank Notorious Pink, Portia of Huntington, Hugo Boss, of course, Optics and Aoki Eyewear, and everybody at the Drake Media Network. And you know what we do here on Soul Free? We talk about sneakers, we talk about street culture, encompassing everything from art, fashion, entertainment, music, sports, a little food we like to eat here on the show. So let's get kicking right now. And we are gonna start off with a sneaker right now, okay? So, you know I'm a Nike dude, right? And when one of your favorite people from Nike goes over to a new company, you know, you gotta open your eyes to it. So there's a company called Salomon. For years, they've been into, outerwear. Obviously, you know them as a ski company, hiking boots and all. But I gotta tell you, they're hitting the streets, and it's working. They're doing it in style. So we've got the new Salomon XT6 GTX here today. I love the colorway. You got the olive night, the dried herb, and the almond milk. And you know I like my almond milk in the matcha, so it all kind of makes sense for me. When I'm walking through the streets in Brooklyn, especially in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, I really do like to wear these. And talking about Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, we've got, I'm going to call him the king of Bay Ridge. Forget Travolta.
While I appreciate that, that's Caves.
Okay.
That's Caves.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a guest in his neighborhood.
You're a guest in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. We've got my guy here. We've got Peter Pade. Peter.
Yes.
It's been a minute. Thank you for coming on the show, my brother.
Pleasure.
It's
pleasure.
really great to have you here. Peter is an artist. He does hand-painted signs. Of course, he comes from the graffiti world. He's got quite the story. But I like to, before we get into what we do here, when I first saw your work, the first work of yours I saw were some of the hand-painted signs you did.
Right.
And look, I was blown away. I think the Jazzy Jeff one was one of the first ones that I peeped from you. And of course, look, you've done great pieces for Dre and LL Cool J and all the great, like, iconic Brooklyn marks and some of the, the way you put your stamp with your style on some of the great records in history and some of the great moments in history. It really touched me. But I think why your work touched me the most, if we look behind us on the screen up here, right, there's a picture of my grandfather. Okay, that's 1950s, that's Brooklyn, that's Avenue U, Friedman's Butcher Shop.
Avenue what?
Oh, God. We're going to have to get back to that.
I had Avenue U on lock in the 90s.
Yeah, well, this is the 50s, so,
Okay.
A
little before my time. Just a
minute
little.
before our time. But, his whole life at the butcher shop, and World War II veteran, came back, took a bullet for the country. He had such pride in his country and his business. And if you look, the signs, all hand-painted signs, roasted lamb, 19 cents a pound, veal, 5 cents a pound. So the minute I saw your work, and it was like sometimes God winks at you. And I'm like, whoa, there's this artist from my grandfather's neighborhood who's bringing back that aesthetic that my grandfather dealt with every day at his butcher shop. And it just hit me right here. And I fell in love with your work on the spot.
Thank
you. I want to thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
And I think one of the most beautiful things you can do as an artist is evoke some kind of memory or some kind of feeling from somebody. And brother, you do that with your work.
Thank you so much.
You do that with your work.
It's appreciated.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. Okay, so now you grew up in Brooklyn?
Yeah, so born and raised Brooklyn. Very, very early on was Canarsie.
Okay.
Parents divorced when I was about 7 years old.
Right.
And we ended up moving to Sheepshead Bay.
Okay.
Probably around 1970, I was about 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And grew up in Sheepshead Bay, got into, all the South Brooklyn, shit that you did as a little kid. But where I lived specifically, right across the street, the next block, not even the next block, the other side of the street, was where back then it was the D and the M train and the Q would go was the Brighton line. So I was right in between the Sheepshead Bay station and the Brighton Beach station. So on evenings and weekends, they would park trains up there. It's known as a layup.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I would always see the trains parked up there, and there were always like empty spray paint cans and stuff laying around.
Yeah, what's going on here?
But yeah, it wound up, just like eventually. Well, actually, let me back up just a hair.
Yeah.
So the block I lived on was kind of a melting pot. We
Sure.
had everybody from kids that were Jewish, Puerto Rican, Panamanian, Black, Italian. We just all hung out, and it was just all of our cultures came together.
Yeah.
This was right when breakdancing started to get really popular. So I got into breakdancing and did that for a few years and was in some really well-known crews in South Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And
You had your cardboard?
we had cardboard, we had linoleum, we got breakdance contests.
Okay.
And there was a place called Roller Palace in Sheepshead Bay.
Sure.
And it would, when we were really young, we'd go there and roller skate.
Yeah.
But then when we hit 13, 14, now
Yeah.
it was all breakdancing. So we did a lot of that there. But that was right around the time when I started to notice all the graffiti that was on the trains. And because I was so close to the layup, and it was one of the largest, if not the largest, layup in the city, it was really popular
Yeah.
to the generation just before me. So, eventually we would, we just got into it. Me and a few of my friends, we came up with tags, and
Yeah.
we would practice, taking tags with like El Marcos, and our building staircases and stuff. And graduated to bombing trains, and just got into that whole.
Talk to me about the feeling in your gut. The first time you said, yo, tonight's the night.
Oh.
We're doing it tonight. Tonight we're
so
getting that train.
We were, first of all, I'm sure I could speak for all of us
Yeah.
in my little group. We were shitting in our pants. We
Right?
were nervous,
Right?
but
How scary are you?
yeah, like we had gone up. So it was an elevated layup.
Yeah.
But not elevated where it was an L. It was actually like a hill, and we had gone up that hill many, many times.
Yeah, just check it out, see what's
But-
going on.
Never with the intent
No.
to actually
Yeah.
write. So we would like run up and then take some quick tags and do some throw ups and then run back down. But when we first decided, all right, tonight, like I'm sleeping over your house, you're sleeping over
Yeah.
my house, all of us were sleeping over each other's.
You tell
and then,
your mom, and then you tell your dad.
Right. So we'd hang out. There was almost like a little park
Yeah.
on my block, shaped like a triangle. So we called it the triangle.
Sure.
So we hang out in the triangle and wait until all the trains were parked, and then they would have sweepers go through the trains and sweep the trains. So once the sweepers left, we waited a little bit, and then we went in, and we wound up. I forget how we came across them, but we had train keys because the sweepers would lock all the doors
Right.
as they're going from car to car to car. So that way we were able to get inside the trains and actually, because we would make our own markers and stuff.
Yeah.
And bomb the insides. But yeah, it was. I always personally had some, even like a little bit of, I wouldn't say nervousness, but just being aware.
Right.
Because, there were some kids that we would write with that were just like reckless abandon, didn't give a shit. And, there was a couple of us that would be like, yo, just, be quiet. And,
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to make the layup hot.
Right.
So, and there were always, not always, but there was a lot. Vandal Squad would be out there
Sure.
looking to catch. So, if you can go get up there and be quiet about it, all right, fine, you may. But if you're loud, then just people walking down the block will
Yeah.
say, hey, there's people up there writing graffiti. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get away with it. So now you're a young man. This is what you're doing. You're out there, you're bombing the train. Was there a certain sneaker at that point in your life that you just had to have?
Shell-toe Adidas.
Shell-toe Adidas, right?
From the breakdancing days
Yeah.
on, I guess until my first sneakers, I rocked those religiously. I had in the breakdancing days,
Sure.
I would have I would have like black on white, white on white, red on white, blue on white, green on white, and then I had a hanger filled with fat laces.
Oof,
and I would change out my laces. Sometimes lace them, just single row across.
Right,
Sometimes
the ladder.
double laces where you would put in 2 pairs and then weave them. So I remember I would take, to make the eyelets wider, the silverware my mother had, like, it was kind of like tapered, so it was thinner at the end. So I would almost ream out the holes to make them wider to fit 2 pairs of fat laces in there. But yeah, I would rock religiously shell-toe tees. I got a photo, I'll show you when this is over, of me. I'm going to say it's 1983-84, standing on Sheepshead Bay train platform with 2 of my friends. I have a hat, like a trucker hat with graffiti on it. I'm twisting the cap off of a marker while the photo was taken. But shell-toe Adidas, fat laces in them, and yeah.
So crazy, looking back at that time in the culture's history. Obviously the body of work, the body of art had been established in the South Bronx already, but you guys were really kind of, you were like the beginning almost in Brooklyn. But who were some of the other cats at that point who you were looking up to?
In the era that I was writing, the guys that were killing it, Chino, BYI, some guys from TFV Crew, Mesk, Bet, Roach, Blast, Hero, Disc, Lean, FN from Lower East Side, Zord. These are a bunch of... You had your guys from Manhattan and the Bronx that bombed the number lines, the IRTs. And because we really didn't see them in our end of Brooklyn, we had, our Brooklyn guys that were really... Although there were guys that did pieces, we were really concentrating on bombing. And, just getting up and tags and those. Even to this day, if someone was to hand me a couple of cans of spray paint, I don't want to do a piece. I want to throw up, so I want to do tags. It's just my mentality from just...
we are who we are. We are who we are.
And I did my share of pieces. I love piecing, or loved back then. But just, I liked bombing and getting up and just the raw grittiness of, that old school graph.
And it's got to be crazy for you now, looking and watching the history, from the first time you went up and the first time you threw that bomb up and you had those butterflies in your stomach, to now graffiti art being such a mainstay in commerce, pop culture. I don't think there's a brand we wear. I don't think there's a high fashion house who hasn't incorporated in graffiti.
Absolutely.
And it's got to be such a, I always look at it as you and a lot of the OGs, it's you guys are getting your flowers now. It's all of a sudden there's this acceptance of...
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yes, a lot of guys are. You'd be surprised how many corporate brands are just blatantly using graffiti writer stuff without permission. There's some, I posted it a week ago with Next and Bates and
I saw that.
Giant. So just, and I've had a couple of instances over the past couple of years where I'm not going to get into it, but some brands have used my stuff, and they didn't use my stuff directly, but it was purely inspired by stuff that I had done, but to take it to a lawsuit level, it's, if I don't think I'm going to win, I'm not going to do it.
Well, here's the good part about your work, all right? I'm going to be very honest with you. All right, the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is sick. Let me try. So I'm I get my markers out, I get my little book here. I'm all ready. I'm gonna no, that looks like shit. Let me redo it. Let me do it again. No. Dude, you have such a talent. It's almost let them try to copy it. Let them try.
So everybody, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody sucks in the beginning. Whether it's graffiti or it's sign painting or it's DJing or if you're a mason. It doesn't matter what it is. When you start out, you're gonna be terrible at it. Very few exceptions. It's just all practice. It's time on the tools. I fortunately got to the point years ago where I'm as proficient with a brush as I am with a marker or a pen. It's so second nature to me. So it's because I've done forget the 10,000 hours. I probably have 100,000 hours.
100%, 100%. And it's. I think it's a great thing to see. I love watching, especially an artist like yourself, who obviously your work just connected with me in a special way, and so many others. But I love just watching the growth of it over the past couple of years. I mean, you just had a great exhibit in the biggest complex that's been built in New York since, in the last, 100 years, basically. There's never going to be another Hudson Yards built again. There's never going to be a new neighborhood built again in New York City, and they just featured your work as an exhibit, as an installation there.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that's got to be a pinch me moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm grateful to anything and everything that's gone on since I've transitioned into, I guess we'll call it the fine art world.
Yeah.
Because it was never the plan.
Right.
It's just something that kind of happened, and I just roll with it.
Yeah.
And, like I was mentioning earlier, I just throw logs on the fire to keep the fire burning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about a lot more stuff. Once again, we're here with Peter Paid NYC on Instagram. If you're not familiar, please check him out. Support his work. I think it's amazing. It brings back this touch of nostalgia. One of your most recent pieces, the bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, the BEC on a roll, 99 cents at the local bodega, or $1.99.
Yeah, I had to bring back 90s prices.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, those just hit so hard. Those hit so deep. So, of course, while we're talking, I know you're a graffiti artist at heart, and I know you can't sit here without a notebook with a pile of Sharpies.
You want me to get up in there while I'm talking?
So we're gonna keep it light for a little while you do this. So, being from Brooklyn, all right, I'm gonna ask you, a very serious question right now.
Shoot.
All right, it's Friday night. Okay. You're like, I'm a little hungry. Shoot, you know what I want tonight? I want a little pizza tonight. Am I going to Pizza Wagon? Am I going to L&B? Am I going to Crispy? Am I going to Pepino's?
All right.
Where am I going?
So, like I said, I grew up in Sheepshead Bay.
Okay.
So, and a couple of, L&B was around.
Yeah.
Where we used to go was Del Mar, which is on Sheepshead Bay Road.
Okay.
So that was kind of outside. And there was another spot, and they are still around also, on Emmons Avenue, V&S.
Okay.
So, but although I've definitely had my share of pizza, we'd probably be more likely to go to Roll and Roaster or Brennan and Carr.
That was going to be the next question.
Yeah.
That was going to be the next question. Maybe you're not in the mood for pizza this Friday. Maybe you're like, you know what? I feel like a little meat this week. I feel like a little roast beef.
Yeah.
Are we going Brendan and Carr? Are we going Roll and Roaster? Or are we going to John's?
All right.
I'm throwing the curveball with the John's. I understand that.
But John's is a different kind of sandwich compared to Roll and Roaster or Brendan and Carr.
Yeah.
So I would, not that I wouldn't include them in a great roast beef sandwich.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's just, you're comparing, it's kind of apples and oranges a little.
Yeah.
I think Brendan and Carr's roast beef sandwich, and I usually get their Gargiulo burger.
Okay, why wouldn't you? It's beautiful.
I think when you go down to roast beef, theirs is better.
Okay.
But Roll and Roaster makes a great burger. Their roast beef is still great.
Yeah.
Their chicken tenders are amazing.
Yeah.
They have the little corn fritters, their fries, forget the fries with cheese. Their lemonade, their iced tea.
Yeah.
Like overall, I think Roll and Roaster has better stuff.
Right.
And it's bigger, it's a cooler
it's a little
atmosphere.
experience.
So roast beef sandwich, Brendan and Carr, but the rest I would give it to Roll and Roaster.
Yeah, I think this year, and this is like a bucket list thing for me, and I'm going to go deep Brooklyn right now, so I implore you to look this up if you don't know about it. This year, for my birthday, I think, and maybe you could come, maybe we could hang out on my birthday this year.
Okay.
I want to go to Roll and Roaster and spin the wheel. Never spun the wheel on my birthday.
I've never done that either.
Yeah, I see it.
I grew up on it.
Yeah, I see it, and all I want to do is Roll and Roaster. On your birthday, you get to spin a magical wheel where you win something automatically. It might only be $5 off your order. It might be a free French fry. It might be a
Yeah, I think it varies what
Yeah.
what the things are you can win.
But I think that, I mean, that's what I'm looking to do on my birthday. So if you're around that day,
Sure, hit me
you know,
up.
I
I
think
haven't
we got to
been
do
to
that.
Roller Coaster in a while,
Yeah.
and yeah, I kind of really need to get there.
Yeah,
Just it's been way too long.
yeah. In your head, is it Nellie Bly or Adventures Island?
Nellie Bly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
But but I never really went there as a kid. I went to in Canarsie. It's called Fairyland, but we all called it Buddies,
right.
which was right where I think it was Flatbush Avenue and Utica.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the intersection was, like the Floridian diners over there, but yeah,
Yeah.
right over there was a little like outdoor amusement park with a kids roller coaster and like the helicopter that you'd pull the bar and it would go up.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where I went
Yeah.
because my grandparents are from Canarsie and
Yeah.
we lived there really, really early on. So like that's where I would get taken to
Yeah.
as a little kid.
Yeah.
And loved it there.
No, I love the weekends. Were always at my grandparents in Bensonhurst, and this was our life. A little Caesar's Bay Bazaar.
Yep.
Well, we'd get some baseball cards, some bootleg jeans. Like it was a good time.
It definitely
Yeah.
was.
So far through, I mean, you've done so much in your career now, and I know you went from graffiti artist to owning the sign shop and kind of perfecting your art.
Well, there's a whole era in between there that maybe you don't know, but you just definitely didn't touch on.
When you played for the Knicks,
Right.
right?
So when I had stopped writing graffiti,
Yeah.
I got into DJing.
Right. Yes.
And what wound up happening was I any early on DJ, I would do the occasional block party and Sweet 16 and little little events and stuff. But I wound up becoming a club DJ, and some of the hottest clubs in New York City in the late 80s, early 90s, Red Zone, Limelight. I used to DJ there. So I've always had a love for music and art.
Yeah.
And still to this day, there isn't one that's above the other.
Yeah.
It's they're equal. So which actually leads me into why I'm doing the art I'm doing, because I had a sign painter background. I got into painting signs for years, and I kind of had a light bulb moment where I fused the two of them together.
Yes.
I brought back my old sign painting and my love of music, and was able to kind of make it work in a homogeneous sense. Like it's just all, it just completely worked. So.
And going through your body of work, you could see it's so authentic, because just knowing the time where you grew up, you can see your love for the music in those pieces. Like, I know you wanted the Cream when that Wu-Tang record dropped. And, looking at that sign, like your Nas New York State of Mind, some of the Biggie pieces, of course, anything Beastie Boys related, I'm there for it, and I could almost hear your mixtape just by looking at your artwork.
I have some available online.
Oh,
probably
is it on a cassette? I want it on a cassette.
No. The cassettes
Come
you're
on.
not going to find. But probably around 10 or so years ago, I did a whole bunch of mixes, and there's like some streaming service online, Mixcloud.
Yeah.
And they're uploaded on there, and they're available to see. They're not. You can't download them.
Yeah.
They're fully streaming, but they're free to listen to. So
Peter Paid sessions.
Peter Paid on Mixcloud /DJ Paid, or it might be. I forget if I change it to Peter Paid. But anyway, they're available. And and it's although what I'm mostly known for are my canvases that are hip hop related. Like, I grew up on freestyle and house music and disco.
I've seen some of those.
Along with the hip hop. And I love all of it equally.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of my mixes that are up there, they're all different genres.
Yeah.
I have house music, and I have, some freestyle stuff and some disco and R&B.
Yeah.
And so, I like to show love across the board equally.
And I love if you're interested in picking up any of Peter's work, definitely go to Peter Paid NYC on Instagram. All the links are there. From some of the pieces you did, paying homage to Brooklyn, some of the signage that represents Brooklyn, to your monthly apparel drops.
Yes.
Which, I mean, every month there's a new apparel drop, and it's only available for that month. So, I mean, on the first, I'm on there like I got, it's great stuff, and that's another thing too. And I actually spoke to Hayes about this.
Okay.
Hayes, who created so many, iconic marks, and like,
So
look,
many.
I might not be able to go to a gallery and buy that original Beastie Boys logo he hand drew,
Right.
but I could go online and buy a Beastie Boys shirt.
Well, that one isn't for sale, and he has everything. If you go into the
yeah,
studio,
yeah.
he is a hoarder, pack rat of everything that he's done, and like he's in the middle of putting a book together, or actually in the very early stages of putting a book together. So a couple of weeks ago, I was over by the studio, and he's got laid out on his table like all this stuff, and I'm like, is that the original EPMD like sketch? And it's just when you see all of that stuff, it's
remember when you drew that for Headbangers Ball? That was cool.
It's all he saves all of it, and it's something that I wish that I did. Caves as well. It just has a ridiculous collection of the things he's accumulated over the years.
Amazing.
And he has something coming up in a couple of months called Brooklyn Pop, which is going to blow everybody's mind.
Well, we'll be there.
Yeah, I got a sneak peek of, and it's really early stages, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's going to be a whole new, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before, because it's so beyond an exhibit.
Yeah.
It's just,
No, well, that's what I love about artists like yourself, like Hayes, the fact that, maybe somebody can't afford one of your original canvases, but you know what? They can afford a hoodie with that mark on it.
Right.
And they can, be part of that. And it's accessible to everybody.
Yeah, I tried early on, I didn't have any intention on ever doing t-shirts, hoodies, any type of clothing. I really wanted to keep my stuff, at least from what I thought at the moment, was I just want to keep it on canvas because that's where art is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But as my price points started to increase, thankfully, it became a little bit more out of reach. So that's when I started to offer prints.
Love it.
And then I had done there was a painting that I did for a show early on. It was Showbiz and AG Soul Clap. And I had posted a progress video of me painting that, and AG of Showbiz and AG, he actually reposted it. He's like, oh, I love the work, blah, 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 blah. So he hits me up and he says, I'm thinking about doing some t-shirts. Would it be cool if I put that artwork on a t-shirt? Absolutely, no problem. I'll send you photo-ready artwork so that you can put it on. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to launch a website and da-da-da. So he hits me up a couple of months later and he goes, all right, I'm launching this tomorrow. I was like, beautiful, just tag me in it and we're good. So he posted when he launched it. I put up a post about it. And a couple of weeks later, when everybody was getting their t-shirts, people were tagging me in it. Yo, I got my Peter Page, Showbiz and AG. And I'm like, oh, awesome. I really don't have anything to do with that. Like, I don't see a dime from it. I don't.
Wow, y'all bought the shirt?
I was just happy. I was like, oh, cool. Because I grew up loving Showbiz and AG. But that became proof of concept that people may want to buy t-shirts that I make. Yeah. So I kind of did a little bit of research and dealing with silk screeners and early on, when COVID hit, I think it was just before COVID hit, is when I decided to release some stuff. Yeah. And then once COVID did hit, I was releasing stuff like Tic Tacs just constantly. And then about a year ago, I made the decision to limit everything. Yeah. Because I would you went on my website and you just have.
Yeah, it was like the Encyclopedia Britannica.
It was 100 things on there. And although that's great, I want my stuff to be a little bit more limited than
Yeah.
that. So that's why I make everything. It's a 1 month release for any T-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. Artwork, prints are all super limited. Like the bacon, egg, and cheese, 10. That's it. Done.
And they last maybe an hour if you're lucky.
Yeah, a little bit
If you're
more,
lucky.
but not far. They thankfully sold out quickly. And that's just how I like to keep it. Just,
I love it, brother.
You know.
I love it. Well, I see you blessed us here with a little artwork. So let's just, we'll show this to the camera. We'll get the nice close-up for you. So now I have a little piece of Peter Paid Forever here in my notebook.
Of course.
Which I am thankful for. Before we wrap up here, if you had to give me a quick hit list of some of the young guys, some of the young cats that you and some of the other guys look at, and you're like, yo, check out this guy or watch this guy.
In what, art, music?
Yeah, in art, in the art world, or even music. You know, we kind of combine it all into one here.
All right, so music.
Yeah.
All right, so, okay. Guy from Coney Island, Lil D.
Okay.
Who's been on fire since he's like 12 years old. I think he's like 17, 18 now.
Okay.
Yeah, met him a few times. Super, super talented. Because to me, like new hip hop, I don't like.
Right.
It's not made for me.
Not a drill guy. You're not. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
It's not music made for me.
Yeah.
Just like my mother hated, hearing freestyle when I was a kid growing up. It just wasn't music made for her.
Yeah.
Lil D has an old school, like, flavor about him and total respect for old school.
Love it. Love it.
Nems isn't old, but he's only really popping off the past few years. Nems has been doing it for a long time. His last 3 albums have been amazing. Love them. As far as art, I'm a huge, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a new artist either. But Queen Andrea.
Okay.
Love her work.
Okay.
Because obviously typography is my lane.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm such a fan of her work.
All right, Queen Andrea.
Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. Rhyme is another one, graffiti artist.
Bacon, egg, and cheese.
Oh, look at this.
God.
Look at this. Look at this.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's warm too.
Wow.
Rhyme's work I love, from his graffiti work to his abstract paintings. Like, I actually have a few of his prints that I love and hanging beautifully in my living room. Tristan Eaton is another one whose work. Yeah. And then there's, Hayes and Say Adams.
Sure.
Crash. Guys like that. Just their stuff is just timeless and
Awesome.
Mare. Love Mare's work.
I love it. So we got a lot of work to do here.
Yep.
We got a lot of new work to show off.
Good thing I didn't have lunch.
Right?
Now I'm gonna have lunch.
In honor of you, we just had the bacon, egg, and cheeses delivered to set here.
Nice.
So we're gonna have to rock those. And my brother, thank you. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks so much.
It's always great seeing you. I can't wait to see what's next. I know you always keep it going. You always keep it moving forward.
I got a few things in the works.
Yeah. So we're here for all of it.
Thank you.
All right. So once again, this has been Soul Free on the Soul Free Radio Network. Thank you to all our friends here at Drake Media Network. And if you haven't checked it out yet, it just dropped on Peacock. Kings from Queens, the Run DMC story. I'm going to tell you, this is probably the best, it's 3 parts, but it's probably the best insight to the story behind Run DMC and how the guys got together. And of course, a lot of love from different artists. Matter of fact, LL Cool J, this is, I think, the greatest quote of the whole documentary. And, I don't care. I'm giving away a spoiler right now. He said, if Mount Rushmore was 5, 3 spots are already taken by Run DMC.
Absolutely.
So check it out on Peacock. The Kings of Queens, executive produced, of course, by Rev, DMC, and William Masterson. If you don't have Peacock, get Peacock for this. This is absolutely worth it. And speaking of things that are worth it, we like to thank all our sponsors, Hugo Boss, Notorious Pink, Portia of Huntington Optics Eyewear, and of course our dear friends at Aoki Eyewear. I'm the official Harlan on Instagram. Download our show on all the major podcast platforms. Peter Paid NYC. Support your local artists. That's all I got to say about that. And we'll see you next week. It's bacon, egg, and cheese time.
Yeah.